Can do to keep Kaepernick as a spokesperson for this 30th anniversary rollout and reach out to conservatives?
I think it's going to be pretty tough. They're going to need to make a decision. And this decision, it's interesting. I don't think this was a decision that was solely based on business. This was a decision based on global elitism, supporting politics that are anti-patriotic. And I think everyone sees that now. I think it's pretty clear. And you have these companies who have benefited from the United States that just think that they're beyond, and they're bigger than the U.S. and bigger than its people.
Well, let's see what Nike does, if anything. Eric Schiffer, thank you very much for getting up so early today.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. All right, straight ahead on this Friday. From websites to directions, Google tracks all of your searches. Kurt the Cyber Guy is here to show you how to erase your entire Google digital footprint. And that's next.
From everywhere that you have gone to all the sites you've visited, you won't believe all the information that Google has on you.
So, what can you do about it?
Here are steps you need to take today if you're interested in that. Kurt the Cyber Guy. Kurt, how do you get, first of all, who is Google tracking?
All of us. They own us. They own you. They own me. They have manipulated their way into our lives. And we sort of blindly went along with it. We blindly went
because it's free.
Because it's free and because they kept innovating, and they're now the monopoly of search, right? So my mother-in-law, by the way, thinks this is like the best segment ever because Sue says when you do this, which is to just log on and delete the search history that Google keeps on you, it's fantastic. It's just one little great thing you can do to win back some of our privacy, right?
Okay, and you're talking about if you have a Google account, you log on, and that's when they track you.
Yes, so most people have at one point or another crossed a Google product that has you log on. So
Gmail
all you would do, so here's how you do it. Just simply log on to your Google account. You'll see your initials in the top right when you get there. Select My Activity from the menu. You confirm your password, and then you hit the menu thing again, and you tap Delete Activity By, and then select all time from the date menu, and then under the products menu, you drop down and select Search, because you don't want to delete everything else. And it's so easy to do this. It sounds complicated when we're talking about it on TV. I put it online, but it'll take you just a few seconds to do this.
Well, what's the big deal if they do
easy.
have our we're searching shopping, we're searching children's diapers, what's the big deal if they have all that?
It's Ainsley search.
Right. So not everybody searches just those things. And what we search for tells a lot about us, tells them where we are, what we like. And sure, they're going to keep some of this anyway, but it's just, why should that be there? If you have a chance to remove that, I don't want my stuff there. There's no value to me for it being there. So I like to...
Because then they target you.
You get targeted more and more and more. They know so much about us constantly. This is just one little means to take back a bit of your privacy.
And are we to believe the delete is the delete?
No. It says it is now. Did they really delete it from their own?
It's deleted.
I don't know. It's deleted from your computer, at least.
Right. So, I mean, there's some comfort in it.
Can we find those steps online? Will you put them on foxnews.com?
Folks here may have seen an anonymous column written in the New York Times.
It's very unfair to our country and to the millions of people that voted really for us. They voted for us.
Senator Elizabeth Warren says it's time to use constitutional powers to remove president from office.
If he's not able to do his job, then they should invoke the 25th Amendment.
Warren's opponent for the Senate is fighting back.
She's willing to take just a partisan newspaper's anonymous source as the justification to plunge our country into chaos. That's unacceptable.
Violated this rule knowingly. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
What I've watched over the last couple of days was a bunch of people who want to be the nominee in 2020, and it's sad.
We will not bend. We will not break, because we are America, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue.
The Rolling Stones, Start Me Up for a Wednesday hour 2. I remember when they rolled this out. That was the Friday, sorry. Start Me Up for a Friday.
The president's got a big decision to make.
What's that?
Instead of Make America Great Again, we're going to keep America great. Well, he doesn't know when he's going to transition his slogans for 2020.
It's funny
and I
you
wonder
say
if
that.
he'll rotate the songs, because isn't that the song he seals his live appearances with?
Yeah, I think so. That is, he definitely uses it. He uses that and the big orchestra one at the beginning too. I don't know the name of it.
Aerosmith?
But it's funny you say that, because I was watching the rally last night and everyone has their Make America Great Again hats, and I thought, when are they going to start wearing the other ones?
Keep America
Great.
I guess right after the midterms.
I think that's
so.
probably right. All right, there's the president last night in Billings, Montana. Pete Hegseth is also in Billings, Montana. The both of them overnighted there. And Pete joins us live from outside the Rimrock Auto Stadium.
That's right. We're outside the Rimrock. It was rocking last night. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know I'm a big believer. It's 5 o'clock a.m. here, so the lights are not quite on yet. But last night, there was a ton of energy in there. And you're right, guys. There were a lot of Make America Great Again hats, but we saw some Keep America Great hats. So the transition may be underway, but a really unique experience, not just to interview the president behind the scenes, but right there in the middle of the arena with the crowd listening. Tons of energy before he walked out on stage. And in this hour and the next hour, we're going to bring even more portions of the exclusive interview we had with the President of the United States. But right now, we've got a quick clip because, of course, everyone was talking about this anonymous New York Times op-ed. We had a chance to ask him the first question about his reaction and what he's doing about it. This is what the president had to say.
Folks here may have seen an anonymous column written in the New York Times. And I think this audience would say that an attack on you is an attack on the people that voted for you.
Yeah.
Are you any closer to knowing who did it and what should be done if you find out who did it?
Well, number one, the Times should never have done that, because really what they've done is virtually, it's treason. You can call it a lot of things. But to think that you have somebody in all of the cabinet, so many people, as you know, they came forward, they're writing editorials. They're all saying, it's got to be at a fairly low level, because so many people today, I was just coming out, and I see all the people that are saying such great things. We have a lot of love in the administration. And the White House is truly, as you would say, a well-oiled machine. It is working so well. And, we have, I heard you say yesterday, we have thousands of people that in theory could qualify. So they take one person out of thousands. But what's unfair, I don't mind when they write a book and they make lies, because it gets discredited. We just discredited the last one. We discredit all of them because it's lies. But I'll tell you, when somebody writes and you can't discredit because you have no idea who they are, usually you'll find out it's a background that was bad. It may not be a Republican. It may not be a conservative. It may be a deep state person that's been there a long time. You don't know where. It's a very unfair thing. But it's very unfair to our country and to the millions of people that voted really for us. They voted for us.
Yeah, big reaction to that. And talking to some of the White House officials, there's a question of how senior the senior administration official may be, which means you may have to cast a pretty wide net.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Senator Thune brought up yesterday, for those people, if they were concerned, if they were looking to hurt the president, this anonymous source in this editorial might have done just the opposite. It is energizing a bunch of people to put their hand up and say, I got your back. And that's a bunch of his cabinet officials and others who said, it's not me, and said some nice things about the president. It's almost as if he took a roll call, and this editorial made these men and women stand up or sit down.
Spot on. I think the folks on the ground here say it's a reminder to supporters of this president how deep the fight is internally against him in Washington, and galvanizes their support, and only does, as you said, reiterate the support amongst cabinet members who came out with really strong statements in support.
To that point, the Wall Street Journal today has got a news story that talks about nobody really remembers the last time a senior government official was given anonymity in writing an op-ed. There are a lot of anonymous sources, but an op-ed, they said that, if it was John Kelly who was going to do it, they would protect him. But they go on to say, if it turns out to be the deputy assistant undersecretary's assistant, probably not. And the New York Times refuses to reveal how senior the senior official actually is.
And then that would look bad for the New York Times and their classification of a senior official. You heard the president. He used the T word, treason. They're taking this very seriously. Someone and groups of people are working against him from within. They're working to find out. They're hoping the press might smoke it out as well. That was part of their hope.
Yeah, well, Pete, you did a nice job. I think the folks out there, they elected him. They don't care if they're going to be naysayers, and I think that's the way they look at it. They look at someone that works for the administration, that works for this president, who's going to say some negative things about him and think that he's the hero. They look at that guy as being disloyal to this administration and to this president. So I do think it has helped him with his base, at least.
Courageous.
All right. Thanks so much. Good job.
You're absolutely right.
And that's going to be a key Senate race out
guys.
there. And thanks, Pete. We'll catch up with you at the bottom of the hour and have more of that interview. But they say if you want to put one candidate forward in Montana that would guarantee a win, it will be Don Jr. They say that he's a rock star in Montana, the outdoorsman. He's been there so often. He's known by everybody.
Maybe in the future. Meanwhile, to the important CAP news,
Yes, what'd you find?
I Googled it, so they're going to be able to track me, according to Kurt the Cyber Guy. The Keep America Great Hat is available for $9.95 at
It's on sale?
GOP.com.
Is
How
it
much
fully
was it
adjustable?
normally?
You know what? It's one size fits all.
Really?
All right.
Okay.
So apparently it's been out there for a while.
As a nation, we are different head sizes. So that's an interesting commitment.
All right. Meanwhile, this morning, America is scratching their heads going, what was Cory Booker talking about yesterday? It looked like he was going to, he was willing to throw his Senate job to the wind and be expelled from the Senate because he was going to release classified information. But here's the thing. Keep this in mind when you're watching this. The emails that he said he was about to release had already been declassified, and yet this happened.
I'm going to release the email about racial profiling, and I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences. The emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do with national security.
Running for president is no excuse for violating the rules of the Senate or of the confidentiality of the documents that we are privy to.
Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
Right.
All right, so what happens, he says this, and everyone thinks, wow, he is willing to give up his Senate seat because he's going to release these confidential emails, and then you learn the real story. At 1 o'clock yesterday, it was announced that the retractions on releasing those emails, the restrictions on releasing those emails were labeled, labeled committee confidential. Well, that had been waived in the morning. So the committee had decided, you know what, these are no longer confidential. We're going to release these to the public. And then Cory Booker, he comes out and says, I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to release them. Well, they were already released.
Well,
Exactly
in that case of the email, but they did, afterwards, Cory Booker released 2 more tranches of emails that were confidential. So he is looking for his time in the spotlight. Amongst the people that were a little shocked by these actions being that he wasn't really releasing anything that no one really knew, and it actually underlined the fact that there was no bias in what Brett Kavanaugh did when he was with the Bush administration, was Trey Gowdy.
Only 2020 presidential politics, Martha. They missed a wonderful opportunity. The Senate did to have a robust, interesting hearing about judicial philosophy and whether you're a strict constructionist or whether you're a minimalist. I mean, these are legitimate questions and reasonable minds can differ. What I've watched over the last couple of days was a bunch of people who want to be the nominee in 2020, and it's sad.
It's so true, because you ask yourself, what is Cory Booker releasing? I was curious. I want to see what is in those emails that were not being released.
The bombshell.
Then you read about it, and Kavanaugh was asked after 9/11 whether or not he agreed with racial profiling. He said he was against racially profiling people while working for the Bush administration. His email says he favors effective security measures that are race neutral for airports, and he's against race-based remedies.
So maybe it was, it was unclear what Cory Booker was talking about, but maybe he was just confused. I mean, maybe he did not know that they had been declassified by the committee, because given the whole Spartacus thing, it's just like I said earlier, it's a head scratcher. What was he was he just grandstanding?
Right. Trey Gowdy says, I've known Cory since I've got to Washington. That's not the Cory Booker that I know, that I watched on television. And the shame of it all to me is that that's what an ambition in presidential politics can do to otherwise reasonable people.
There you go. What do you think? Let us know. Friends at foxnews.com. In the meantime, it's 7-Eleven here in New York City. You know what time that is.
Time for
Friday.
headlines. And it's time for headlines. Yes, we do begin with a Fox News alert, though. Some serious news to get to. And a violent night for police nationwide. A deputy shot and another run over in Georgia. Police arresting this man, Nick Warnell, overnight. The condition of the officers at this point is unknown. In Washington, a suspect arrested after shooting at police and taking hostages in a car dealership south of Tacoma. None of the 4 hostages were hurt. All officers are okay. The suspect wearing body armor believed to be shot by police before being arrested. A local Wyoming GOP office is set on fire less than 2 days after opening, and police believe it was intentional. You can see campaign materials and furniture destroyed. A Make America Great Again sign reportedly hanging in that shattered window in Laramie. Officials say the damage was minor, and fortunately, there were no injuries. A grand jury now looking into whether former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe should face criminal charges. The Washington Post reports a grand jury has summoned more than one witness, and the case is still underway. The DOJ's Inspector General's report in April found that McCabe lied to investigators about his contacts with a Wall Street Journal reporter. McCabe was fired from the Bureau in March for a lack of candor. The NFL season opener kicks off without protest during the national anthem. Philadelphia Eagles Michael Bennett and Jay Ajayi sat down just before the anthem wrapped up, but there was no kneeling. The Super Bowl champs, woohoo, hanging their new banner before kickoff against the Atlanta Falcons. And my Birds won the opener 18-12.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Again,
you're
Nick
rubbing
Foles
it in.
again.
Yay. Is he really back? I'm like, they're both amazing.
I mean, yeah.
He's a backup.
Yeah, they got lucky. They got 2 good ones.
All right.
Well, congratulations. I
Thank
know
you.
you're happy this morning.
Thank you, Jillian.
For a change.
All right. Meanwhile, Cynthia Nixon's plan to bring single-payer health care to New York State is simple. Pass it, and then we'll figure out how to fund the billions and billions of dollars. There's one group trying to stop it, and you're going to hear from them coming up next.
Oh, I love that Checks in the City. And one college putting country over company, cutting ties with Nike over his Kaepernick ad. The school's president will join us live.
What you say? Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't
The TV star, Cynthia Nixon, has been vocal about her support for government-run health care. Listen to this.
Healthcare is a human right. We can insure all of our people, and we can do it at enormous savings, not only to individuals and to employers, but to the state itself.
But Cynthia Nixon has no plan to pay for it, telling the New York Daily News editorial page, pass it, and then we'll figure out how to fund it. So how much would a single-payer system actually cost taxpayers? Here to weigh in is Lev Ginsburg of the Business Council of New York State. Lev, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Okay. It almost sounds like Nancy Pelosi, what she said. We got to pass it to figure out what's in it.
Sounds exactly like Nancy Pelosi. I would say that it's probably one of the most irresponsible things I've ever heard a politician say. I mean, we're talking about a program that would raise taxes by, in the first year, 150% in the state of New York, at very least. We're not talking about small potatoes.
But you know there are a lot of people who don't pay federal taxes, and so they figure, I'm not, what do I have to lose? I like the idea of getting something free for nothing.
Well, in this particular case, we're talking about a New York-specific health plan. And this is my organization, the Business Council, deals mainly with New York policy. We do deal with some federal policy. So we've been deeply concerned about what's going on in this state. But you're correct. I mean, people think that they're getting a free lunch, if you will, but taxation will be out of control.
And I think I read in New York State alone, it would be something like $170 billion just for this, and that's what the entire budget for the entire state is. Yeah. You say the real problem is the loss of jobs. Forget about your taxes are going to skyrocket. How many people would lose their jobs if this went through?
So conservative estimates are that on the onset of this would be about 150,000 jobs in the state of New York.
How?
Well, when you consider all of the folks that work for insurance companies, that work for brokers, all of the back office people in hospitals and doctors' offices, and that's just the beginning. And then you have every pizza shop and every convenience store along the way in small towns that would lose 1,000 jobs from a program like this. 150,000 jobs is the same as New York State lost in the Great Recession.
Unbelievable. Why is it right now when the pollsters ask, do you like the idea of Medicare for all, Medicaid for all? They go, yeah, we'd love that. Why is that number going up?
I think there's a couple of reasons. First, you mentioned it earlier, people think they're going to be getting something for nothing. They don't realize that the other side of that balance sheet are severely increased taxes. And I think beyond that, it's partly how we name it. If we call it Medicare for all, it sounds sort of great.
It does.
If we talk about the fact that bureaucrats that really answer to no one will be running your health care program and making health care choices for you about what you can and can't get, it doesn't sound quite as good.
I think you're probably right about that. Lev, thank you very much for making the trip from Albany.
My pleasure.
All right. By the way, we did reach out to the Nixon campaign on how they were going to pay for that. They have not called us back. All right. 20 minutes now after the top of the hour, the College of the Ozarks says it will choose its country over a company as it plans to strip athletes of Nike gear because of the Colin Kaepernick ad.
The College of the Ozarks is dropping Nike from all its athletic team uniforms. This following the company's decision to make Colin Kaepernick the spokesperson for the 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. They rolled out a 2-minute spot last night on Thursday Night Football. Dr. Jerry C. Davis is the president of the College of Ozarks, and he joins us now with more on the school's decision. Doctor, what went into this? We know that he's taking a stand, and they paint him as somebody who's brave for doing it. Why is that bad news for the Ozarks?
Well, first of all, the College of the Ozarks is different from most schools in that we have a patriotic goal, and we feel like that it's our duty to uphold that goal, and it's based on civic responsibility and a love of America and a willing to defend it. We think that the Nike Corporation has not acted responsibly, and we are of the opinion that Nike Corporation is exploiting an issue that we don't think is helpful in the culture right now. And the College of the Ozarks has made its decision based on honor, trying to carry out our mission and be a good example for young people. So they've made their decision, we've made our decision.
How did you let them know, and what was their reaction?
Well, we just simply served notice that we would no longer have their logo on our uniforms, and we would buy uniforms somewhere else. So that's what we're doing. We haven't heard from the corporation. I doubt if they care what people like us out in Middle America think anyway.
I would hope they do care. And I imagine that they're not looking to alienate, but they took a huge risk in doing this, in my opinion. They put together a great ad. The only person who didn't belong in it was Colin Kaepernick, because we talk about reaching your dreams. So, Doctor, what are you going to do in the fall?
Well, we know something about reaching of dreams. This college for over 100 years has been educating kids that don't have any money. This is a work college. You can't get in here hardly unless you show financial needs. So we have some of the same goals. We just don't think that using the issue, which goes back to kneeling during the presentation of the national anthem or the American flag, we don't think that's a constructive way to deal with problems. People are entitled to their own opinion. We're entitled to ours. And we also don't like to see the word sacrifice thrown around too much. If you want to find sacrifice, you're more likely to find that in somebody that wears this nation's uniform, not somebody out on some athletic field that's making a lot of money. Now, I can introduce you or your audience to somebody that knows about sacrifice. The chairman of our board's a 4-star general. He once told me about hauling 20 dead Marines in his helicopter out of Vietnam. I say they sacrificed everything, and they did not do it for money and try to exploit it.
Understood. They say that younger people are for Kaepernick, and that this is an homage to them. It's Nike reaching out to the next generation. Have you heard any athletes say, I want the swoosh on my uniform?
No, I haven't, and they may have misjudged the younger generation. Some of the information that I've seen show that they're less likely to buy the product. So I don't know who Nike's marketing genius is, but I don't think it's a good strategy, and I don't think it's in the interest of the country. I think people are just tired of divisiveness and disrespect, and so it feeds into that, and it stirred up very much of a controversy all over the country. But the American people need to decide, do you want to support the values of a corporation that's using an issue improperly for the purpose of getting money, or do you want to support the values of a work college who's trying to do something about it? The public has to decide.
Gotcha. And Jerry, lastly, have you heard from any brands? Have they reached out to you? Adidas, Under Armour?
Well, not yet, but all of our teams don't use Nike materials anyway. The baseball team uses Adidas. I doubt if we'll have trouble finding somebody that will sell us tennis shoes. Evidently, somebody wants to give me some. They called up yesterday and wanted to know what my shoe size was. Maybe they want to throw it at me. I don't know, and I don't care. But I don't think we're going to have any trouble finding people to sell us material.
What is your shoe size?
Are you going to send me some shoes?
I might. What is it?
Well, 9.
All right. If you have a 9 shoe and you agree with Dr. Jerry, send them to him, and we'll check back in with you again. We reached out to Nike, and we have not heard back. College of Ozarks taking a stand.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Dr. Jerry Davis, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, coming up straight ahead, Tesla founder Elon Musk is lighting up the internet. The bizarre podcast interview, that's next. Plus, more of Pete Hegseth's exclusive interview with President Donald J. Trump.
This tester's never going to give us a vote. I know he did a commercial. I feel a little bit guilty because he did a commercial today, and everyone's saying it's like a love letter to President Trump.